Hey everybody, and welcome back to another book review. Not in my office right now, but I have still been dealing with a little bit of sickness. So again, delay on books, um, but I have still gotten some reading done, especially relating to Black History and Black History Month. And so for this book review, I decided that I was going to return to a book that I had read, had read to me as a kid. My fourth/seventh grade teacher read it to us, and um, it was just nice to return to that book and now go into the rest of the series. So that book is "Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry" by Mildred Taylor, and it is such a good book, and it is also a book that I remember a good chunk of this book. Like I really remember a good chunk of this book from when it was like first introduced to me. And so as I was rereading it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that, and I remember that, and I remember that. But then there are some other pieces that I don't really remember. But then also looking at it from the angle of this book is written from the perspective of a 9-year-old and a 9-year-old experiencing new elements in the world. And so, yeah, it was just really nice to revisit it. And I felt like it was also very timely to revisit this story. So if you don't know, the story follows the Logan family, and this is actually a continuation of another book. And the Logan family consists of 4 children. The eldest is Stacy, and then there is little man, Christopher John, and Cassie. And so the story is told from the perspective of Cassie, who is 9 years old, and it is 1933. So in the middle of the Great Depression, and they are from a family that actually owns their land, but they farm cotton. And they live in a community that is predominantly sharecroppers. And it's just their day-to-day experience of going to school, going to church, but then Cassie learning and experiencing new things that, not that weren't important, but that she just hadn't experienced before. Or experience in a way that she could start to kind of understand. And so, like, they experienced their first night rides with families being attacked and burned for something that was said may or may not have been true. And also experiencing firsthand racism. She goes to the store at one point in the story, and she and her friends are waiting to be helped, and all these other white folks come in and get helped before her, and she finally goes up to the storekeeper in her 9-year-old brain, and she thinks she's being very polite and saying like, hey, like, I just noticed that we've been standing over here for an hour and you haven't helped us, like, we were here before these people. And it turned into a big thing, and she just doesn't understand like why it's such a big deal, and her family has to explain that to her, and just the continued loss of innocence that a child experiences in conditions like what they're growing up in. But what I also liked that the book addressed, and also didn't like outright address, is the changes that happened during that time period with the after effects of World War I. Also the after effects of the Great Migration. So one of the characters, Uncle Hammer, the Cassie and family's uncle, he has moved away to Chicago, and he's found a job supposedly, but he's also a war vet. And he moves out of the South to get away partially from the racism, but also to look for a job, because he's gone and he's fought this war. He's lost his brother doing this fighting in the war. And so he just really wants a different life for himself, but he's also still very connected to his family, and that, eventually they have no choice. They have to call him for money. And he's like, no problem, I'll, get the money for you. But that kind of discussion of how families are spread out across the country, and what reasons that people had for doing so, especially Black families that came out of the South, and went north to find work, but also went north to get away from some of the racism. Like, he shows up and he has this really nice car, and everybody that is white in the town is like, how does he have this really nice car? Like, there's no way that a black person has this kind of nice car. And so there's that. And then also Stacy and his friend TJ, and Stacy learning that sometimes the people that you're friends with aren't necessarily the best people to be friends with. And one of his friends, TJ, in the story, he winds up getting into some trouble towards the end of the story. And Stacy, even though they hadn't really been friends at that point, because TJ was running his mouth off and got their mom fired from the school, Stacy still cares about him. And so he's willing to try and help his friend out, because his friend is literally about to be lynched. And Stacy and Cassie and the other siblings, they go into the woods to try and figure out if they can stop it or what they should do, because they don't want their friend to be lynched. So yeah, it's a very powerful story. Definitely a story of change and resilience, but I really looked at it with a different set of eyes and different perspective now that I'm an adult, and just that constant loss of innocence of children when they experience things that are just unfair, especially when it comes to racism and ethnocentrism. So yeah, it was just a really good book, and it was really nice to revisit it, especially in the day and time that we are in. So yeah, overall, I give the book a 5 out of 5. Like I said, I've read it before, but just a revisit of the book. And yeah, 5 out of 5. I really liked it as a younger person. I'm sure I would have given it a 5 out of 5 when I was younger, but like I definitely do now as an adult as well. And I really look forward to the next part of the story, because the story does kind of leave on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, wait, what happens? So definitely going to be jumping into the next book. And I also understand that one of the books in the series actually comes before Roll of Thunder, so Hear My Cry. So I will get to that one as well, and kind of go back and pick up some other pieces of the story that I'm sure I'm missing. So yeah, there you have it. Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred D. Taylor. Older book written in the 70s, but still very poignant and timely for today's world. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Again, I apologize for not having a video every week, but just being sick off and on is just really taints any ability for me to read anything right now. So yeah, I will try and be better. But thank you those of you that have stuck through this. And again, continue to stick around for more book reviews. And I will see you in the next book review. Bye.